Hello, good afternoon. Sorry about that, a bit of a trip up and my mic's going a bit weird. Anyhow, thanks for having us over. My name's Jaydev Patel, Jay Patel for short. We're from Ofcom and Jonathan Tuck, or John Tuck. We work for programme making and special events within Spectrum Group in Ofcom. So the idea today is to give you a bit of an overview and a feel for what we do and from a sort of a high level really, because there's quite a lot of ground to cover. So who are we? We're Spectrum. We manage all the frequencies. We coordinate, plan and license spectrum for the programme making and special events sector. That's PMSC. We started back in sort of 1997. There were sort of other organisations. They amalgamated in 1997 and formed JFMG. And then from there, right up until now, we are now part of Ofcom and part of the wider sort of family within Spectrum. The PMSC team is a small team within our group. Consists of radio planners and engineers that sort of help facilitate the licensing and provide the resource of frequencies for events that take place throughout the UK. And that involves kind of providing support, we provide engagement with our stakeholders, and then we attend events where we actually be on the ground and provide support in that way. So how do we do it then? So PMSC spectrum allocations. This is basically our sort of what we got on the shelf in terms of the spectrum bands. So we go from 48 megs up to 12 gigs. I mean, there's quite a bit of detail that sort of fills a lot of those sort of different chunks there. So anything from, as you can see, fixed audio links. Mainly sort of this is dedicated use, so exclusive channels for specific devices. So anything from wireless audio all the way up to wireless video, which is used for these type of events. As you can see, so it's non-contiguous. The spectrum is non-contiguous. So you've got gaps there, which you can see in terms of the frequency domain. And we've got other services such as military, civil, home office, emergency, and all of those. And we sort of share a lot of the spectrum that is available for that. Now the key thing here is a lot of this changes from time to time, and spectrum gets awarded for other services such as mobile or other sort of internet-based services. And the key one there is if you look at the 470 to 702, and this is basically spectrum that operates these wireless microphones. We used to have spectrum in 800 megs, 700 megs, which we used to license, but we no longer have to license, and it's a bit more of a tighter squeeze, and those are some of the challenges we face. Addition to that, we've been provided, or we sought other sort of options in providing replacement or supplementary spectrum in the aero band, which is specifically for the UK only. It's a finite resource, and we've got that what we've got to deal with. So the basic sort of bits of technology that occupy PMSC is wireless audio, which is wireless microphones and in-ear monitoring. We've got wireless video, which is the wireless camera or video links, radio talkback, which is communications, and radio and any kind of sort of satellite component. And this here is an example of an outside broadcast. In this case, it's a news gathering unit, where you've got various number of these technologies that utilise that, and all of these sort of we facilitate the spectrum in order for this type of event to take place. So PMSC processes and how we sort of work In order to get these requirements, we have an application form, and the licensee or the applicant then puts in their requirement, and we then gather that, and then either the license can be obtained via online or via our team of planners. And also, as I mentioned, the online capability, JIBS stands for JFMG Integrated Business System, a bit of a mouthful. It basically is in order for the user to access the spectrum, and the three main sort of components are where, when, and what. So in terms of this one, this is wireless microphones, and it checks a database, an active database that is live, and it does the very relevant checks. And it also uses modelling to allow a clearance of spectrum. So the user can go in, purchase the frequencies, and license. And as a result, you get this particular official bit of paperwork that then indicates what can be used. I'll pass you over to John. He's going to explain a bit further.
Thank you. So I'm just going to talk a bit more. So we've got here tools and software. So I'm going to do it a bit in reverse, the tools. So we use a FieldFox analyzer. Primarily when we're out doing our PMSE events, we'll be using that to, we'll do live interference monitoring on site with that, and we'll also try and trace any interference. We also do compliance checks, so we will go through who's licensed what and just checking they're all on the frequencies we've licensed them, because we have what we call a domino effect, and it can happen if someone's frequencies won't work, they'll retune, they'll hit someone else who will retune, they'll retune, and before you know it, you've lost the whole thing. So it's good, you know, to be able to see what's going on and stop anything disastrous happening like that. For the first piece of software we have is this virtual spectrum analyzer. This is a bespoke bit of software we have at Ofcom, and it just allows us to calculate radio talkback frequency sets to give us an interference-free set. So what we've got here is the 457 megahertz Group A set. So that's when we load it up, that's what it looks like. So we can see that the base transmit carriers won't interfere with each other. We'll move on. For lower power devices, we use Shaw's Wireless Workbench. There are other software, or there is other software available to do this, but we use this in particular because it lets us, we can basically build into modulation for interference-free sets around other users and DTV in the area for people. It's a really nice piece of software for that, so we use that. And all of this stuff all comes together that Jay's been speaking about, I've been speaking about here, that we then start looking to use this a lot for major events. So the first one I want to talk about quickly is the Download Festival. The Download Festival we designate as a major event purely because there's so much going on that one site. You can see there the details is massive. The other issue we have to work around with Download in particular, there's the East Midlands Airport is right next door. So there's some serious safeguarding issues around frequency use and interfering with the airport. The agreement between the airport, the circuit and the council is that anything over 500 milliwatts needs to be assessed by East Midlands Airport and a month in advance of the event. So for us, that changes everything really. It means very advanced communications with the organisers, because a lot of the bands are from overseas and they carry a really wide selection of equipment. It all comes pre-programmed, all kinds of random frequencies, so we really need to get into that as soon as we can. And the bottom line is, if they don't get clearance from us in the airport, they can't use it, and the organisers are there to make sure that happens. The next one, which is on the title of our talk, is the Eurovision. This was a bit of a different thing altogether. When we started putting it together, it became clear very quickly that the arena itself was going to be, there was only going to be 3 stakeholders controlling everything for the host broadcasters. So once those three were in place and happy, that then left the whole rest of the city, because there was stuff, you can see on the list, there was stuff everywhere across the city. So we had to make it a slightly controlled event. So for the arena itself, we had our assurance colleagues who were on site running shift work. They were testing and tagging the equipment, making sure it was to the assigned frequencies. And then there was events leading up to the Eurovision where there was teams out on site again, making sure everyone was on frequency and trying to stop any domino effects. There was some big stuff. I mean, the launch event at St George's Hall, that was, I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, it was 120 odd frequencies on its own. So that was, that was important to get that in and working. The biggest challenge was that all of the radio talkback frequencies were in such a small area that each area would reach the other area. So we had to really plan that well with them. And from my side, when it came to that, I went ahead. I mean, we had a technical meeting in January. Literally, as soon as that was done, I was on the emails and the phones to all the OB companies, to everyone we knew we thought might be there. Didn't matter. We just got in touch and said, are you going to be there? Have you been engaged? We need to know. We need to plan this, which is what we've done. And as a result of that, it all went really well. Oh, the other curveball was there was 2 football matches coming in. That was, I think there were 3 originally, and they moved 1 because it landed on the final day of the Eurovision. So, but yeah, it was a big job. I mean, I love that picture of the talkback systems. It's that's something to behold. Okay, so that's it from me. I'll pass you over to Jay.
All right. So, thanks for that, John. Right, so one of the other it's mainly sort of all major events really in the UK that we license and manage, and stuff. They sort of vary by scale. You could have last year's Commonwealth Games. You're talking about sort of 3,000 odd frequencies, but it very much depends on the complexity. Now, Formula One, why we sort of chose this to display, is Formula One is slightly different in the sense that it sort of it's a travelling show. It's international, and it goes all around. So therefore, there's a wireless requirement, quite a large wireless requirement, and it pretty much is fixed. So in terms of them adapting to a specific nation and meeting their sort of spectrum plan is quite a bit of a challenge for this particular event. So what we then tend to do, a lot of international spectrum plans are non-harmonised. So each nation has its own sort of spectrum plan and where it operates. And what we then do is a lot of the use for Formula One falls outside of the PMSE allocations that we have to license. And some of it falls in military, which we have to get clearance for. And some of it, if it falls into a specific area where it's sensitive, such as, radio astronomy, therefore, we have to look at other options. And, there is some sort of flexibility, both from a licensing perspective and the event. That's sort of frequency planning chart, and that's the outside broadcast. So the actual event itself is split according to the teams. So that's the team operations and all the logistics that go with that. And then you've got the support races, and you've got the broadcast element of it. And there's other sort of bolt-on parts, which is there's a mini festival, which is another sort of planning exercise where we have to have a music event to plan for. And then we've got corporate as well. So that's all in one particular area, and trying to get that all to work and work together. So, I think that's probably it. Thank you very much.